been quite an exciting year for you. Can you talk us through it?
So, yeah, I mean, starting obviously the year before, joining Ferrari Driver Academy, and then going into GP3 with ART. Obviously, the best team to go with, I think, going into GP3, and yeah, started off strong. I think first half of the season was really good, fighting for the championship, and then we got to around Monza where there was disqualification for tyre pressures, and that sort of set me on the back foot a bit because I got some good points from those races, and then I was always playing catch up, and it was never enough. And we lacked pace in the last couple of races as a team, and a little bit me. I'm not sure why. I'm still trying to understand a little bit, but yeah. Then taking that, I mean, finishing third, the first time I finished in the top 3 of a championship, so I've got to be happy with that. Super license points and all of that, and a lot learned. I think, you know, going from F3 and GP3. F3, you learn how to drive really quickly in a car with downforce and being a light car, whereas GP3, it's a bit heavier, it's a bit more lazy, but you've got the added effect of the tyres. So I went from F3 being quick in quali to not being as quick in GP3, but I was more consistent and getting the results normally every weekend. So yeah, I think hopefully to become a complete driver, I need to put both of those together, because in F3 I didn't really have the consistency, and I improved on that last year, but I missed a little bit in the speed. So
you came straight to F3 from karting, didn't you? So it's been quite a few years since you went to F3. Have you noticed any differences now, or has that kind of been levelled out?
I'd say the one thing about just going straight into something is you get really used to that. So now if I jump back in an F3 car, I mean, because I did Macau, I went all the way to Japan to do a test in F3, and like, it's just comfortable. So I'll always know how to drive that car quickly. I was able to obviously use a lot of the things that you learn from F3. Some of the little things don't really work, like in GP3 with the tyres and that. You've got to be a lot smoother and be able to use the tyre in different parts of the corner than you would in F3, and then the high-speed corners and that stuff that you get used to in F3 doesn't work in GP3. So I think that would relate into Formula 2 as well, and to F1 if I get the chance. But F3 is a really good place to learn and to start. Unfortunately, you can't do it. They stop you going from karting to F3. But the one downside is when you go from F4 to Formula Renault to Formula 3, you get to experience all the cars in different styles. Like Renault is a really aggressive style, using the car to rotate, not worrying about the tyres and that. Whereas F3, you're always trying to be really on the limit but really smooth, whereas GP3, you don't want to be on the limit in a certain part of the corner, blah, blah, blah. So it would have been nice to maybe experience a few other things, but I'm very happy with what I learned in F3 as well. So.
One of our app users asked, what's the best and worst moments for your career so far?
I'd probably say the outright worst moment was Macau 2015. I got some personal bad news like in my family before I went out there, so that wasn't a great mood, but you know, you just get on with life, and it's not bad. And then I had the worst race weekend of my life. Oh, and also at the same point, I was dropped by Red Bull on that weekend. So
that didn't help.
Yeah, I crashed 4 times. I broke both hands, and you know, so that was probably, in terms of my career, that was one of the worst race weekends. But if I ever learned that much in a short space of time, it would be that weekend. I mean, like, I've so many things firstly about life and about racing. It's funny how much you learn when everything's going that badly. So it's something that I don't regret, but it's also, I would say, was a real low point. And then sort of picked up a bit from there. I mean, the high points, Obviously, I haven't won a championship. I'd say if I was to say stuff that I've won, karting was really where I was really strong and just in a league of my own and being really happy with what's going on. Now it's been difficult, but I'd say the highest points. Maybe when I got picked up by Ferrari after the few years being on my own after Red Bull. If it was a win. To be honest, I don't know. But yeah, that would be a good point to start again. But I need some better. I need to aim for something better.
Best part of your career hasn't happened yet.
No, not yet. I mean, in karting it did, but in cars it's still far from done.
In the F1 team, Charles is now with Ferrari. It's the first one from the FDA to get there. Has that kind of boosted morale a little in the academy? Do you think somebody in my position is now in F1?
I think actually Jules Bianchi, I think it was a different academy then, but he was part of Ferrari's academy at the time. So obviously he did a good job. Charles doing an amazing job from F3, GP3, and then F2. And I think it's nice to be reassured that if you do a good job, this is what can happen. And obviously he's done a really good job, and we'll see how much it will continue, because I think he'll still continue to do an amazing job. But yeah, just a reassurance, and to know that someone else has done it, and you can do it if you do the job.
What's the most valuable thing you learned last year?
Every year you learn a lot. I'd say in terms of the car, it would be the tyres, because that'll be necessary for the next few years of what I do with Pirelli tyres. Personally, a lot of stuff about trust and loyalty. I think that's quite an interesting one. Getting older, you get exposed to a lot more things, and actually when I was younger, these things would happen, but I wouldn't recognise them. And now, just to be more open to it and recognise it. So it's disappointing to see some things, and it's also eye-opening to see some other things. So I'd say those are the two things for cars and personally that I learned.
Posted on Instagram a couple of days ago about racing with Antonio and George Russell, was it? So how do you think they're going to do?
So Antonio I haven't seen in a car for a while, which hasn't been a test day, but I know from when he did F3, from when he did F2, he was really strong. Now we'll see. He's got, they've both got tough competitors. He's got Kimi, who will produce a really good baseline for him. Who knows how well he will do? And it's not for me to really say, but he's always been strong, and he's always done a good job. I think he was a bit unlucky with what happened when he jumped in the F1 car for the races. I think there were a few mistakes which were avoidable, but these things happen. But hopefully, he's learned from what that was, and move on for next time. George going into Williams, I think they can only go upwards, and they've got the right people to take it there. George is very good at getting what he wants from the car and making it more towards him, and I think he'll make it work somehow. Obviously Robert will put up a challenge, and actually should be working with the team as well. I don't know him. When I was growing up he was racing, but I haven't seen much of him too recently, but it will be interesting what George does. And from F2 we've seen he's been really dominant, done a really good job in qualies and in races, and just kept cool. So hopefully in F1 he stays the same.
I suppose from a personal point of view, there's a lot of young drivers coming up at the moment. That must be good to see.
I race against Charles, I race against Max Verstappen, I race against George. George I've been teammates with him. Carlin, never teammates in karting, but we raced a lot. Lando raced against multiple years. Dan Tipton, okay, he hasn't got to F1 yet, but we're all upcoming, and we've all raced against each other. Alex Albon as well. you know, it's quite cool to see everyone I grew up with racing and karting, also racing in F1 or close to.
Can't say much about next year, but how is the prep going? How's the winter been for that?
It's been good. It was quite late that I stopped because obviously my last trip was to Japan and that was just before Christmas. That was very last minute as well. Just like, okay, you know, go out there, help the guys. Also get a chance to drive Suzuka, which is an incredible circuit. And then stopped for Christmas, had a little break. I've still got another 2 weeks until I'm shipped off back to Italy and start training there again. But no, I started properly training again actually at the beginning of this week, and then soon start with some of my sim stuff. I think more towards what I'll be doing next year than anything involving Formula One or anything. And then yeah, we'll see. I mean, the stuff for next year should be sorted beginning of February and middle of Feb. So when that's all announced and that properly kicks off. But right now it's just training and doing my stuff with Ferrari. I think we've got a few training camps coming at the end of January, so they'll be exciting, good to do. Yeah, not much else.
How different is the off season with Ferrari than with that by yourself?
Not too different. I think we get a month over Christmas and winter to yourselves, to go back to your family. I think someone like Marcus, okay, he's doing Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand, so he'll spend more time there. But because being in New Zealand, he'll spend maybe another 3 weeks more than me on holidays because he hasn't seen his family for a while. But for me, I get a month at home to enjoy, and then work starts. But it's quite good because I can just fly home at the weekends if I want to come home or I want to go see someone. It's quite free. Like, I can create my own schedule to an extent in a way. Obviously, everything that is necessary I'm there for. Everything that I want to do I'm there for. The training is is necessary, but I try and map that in around what I want to do. But I can also do that when I'm at home and stuff like that. So I'd say it's over the winter it's not too different because I'm just doing my own thing and relaxing. In the middle of the season when we have like our 3 week breaks and stuff, I'm over in Italy training and maintaining myself basically, instead of being at home.
And finally, how's your Italian?
I spent a while learning it. I spent last year learning it, and actually, to be fair, I progressed quite a bit. I really struggle speaking it. I can understand it, so you know, I get texts and emails and people speaking to me, and I can understand what they're talking about and that, but I just cannot speak it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm really trying to work on and try and progress, even if it means like spending half an hour every night trying to speak it and read words and that. But no, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or what, but yeah, it needs to improve a bit. But